Hi everyone, I'm Nicole Rideout Hartwick. I am here today with Daphna Fields, our VP of Brokerage Development. Today is going to be a really exciting day for us because we have Daphna on here. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here with you.
We are going to talk today a little bit through, so Daphna has so much experience. I'm really excited to dive into what her experience is. We are going to talk today through, Daphna has been doing one-on-one coaching with most all of our agents for the coming year. And I think the layer of your decades of experience in the industry combined with just the time that we're in right now, you had been talking me through these 10 habits that now you've seen time and time again that really are what it takes to be a successful agent. So I'm really thrilled to talk about that with you today because I think it'll be helpful for everyone.
Thank you so much. Yeah, as we spoke, and as I've done these workshops, both for groups and one-on-one coaching with agents working on business planning, it really reminded me of some of the things that I've seen over 23 years in this business. I started as an agent, I was a manager, a regional vice president, and throughout my career, I was really interested in seeing what makes someone successful. What is it that really differentiates the top agents in any company, in our industry in general? What is it that makes someone a top agent so successful? And then there are those that just fall flat. They don't make it. They literally have to exit the business, or they're always chasing that next deal desperately, not knowing, where it's going to come from. And so I really thought it would be helpful to look at the 10 top skill sets or habits that I've seen regularly show up to one degree or another in these highly successful agents. I took some notes, so I'll jump right in if that's okay with
really
you.
Interesting before you jump in that I think is some of these things are so not what people expect. And that's what I liked the most about this when you ran through it with me is there's so many things I think that people just assume. There's a stereotype, like I have to be this, I have to be outgoing, and just all the stuff that some of it's good and it might be a good supplement to your business, but it's really not like the core characteristics.
I love that you said that. Something that I really enjoy in my coaching is working with each individual based on who they are and what their story is and what their personality is. Not everyone is an outgoing, rambunctious, talkative, spotlight-seeking individual, which is difficult nowadays, right? Especially with social media and everything, and in an industry where agents are really marketing themselves all the time. There is an assumption that you have to be this star, but not everyone is. That is not what makes or breaks a career. It's the actions, it's the habits, it's what actually happens every day, day in and day out, that someone does or does not do, that really makes the big difference.
Yeah, for sure. And that kind of lends itself nicely to that first point that you have here.
Yes, the first point is having a strong why. For people to succeed in this industry especially, where there's a lot of rejection, there are challenges, there are constant changes, there are many things that are out of our control, and yet we have to work within this. It's very difficult to become, disillusioned or bitter or give up. For the people who have a strong why, who have that goal, it's beyond a goal really. A strong why is that fire in the belly. It's why we get up in the morning. It's what we're passionate about. It's what we can focus on when there are hard times, because we realize, well, this is hard, but this is what it means to me, so I will overcome.
Right.
So having that very strong why helps us every day, helps an agent overcome, but it's also a wonderful way to use, in part, to brand oneself. Because when you understand your why, you live it, you share it, people can see it, people understand who you are and what you're about, and they can, better relate to you because of that. A strong why, I think, is a very important foundation that many people forget, or many people have but don't realize.
Yeah.
So asking yourself that can help.
Yeah, I think your why can be such a point of connection.
Yes.
And if that's not clear for you and it's not clear for your clients, it's like your why can be, I think a lot of people think of real estate as something that, there's twofold. When you were talking, I was thinking low barrier to entry is sometimes what turns people off. I actually think it's a great thing. It sort of levels the playing ground. Like anything, there's going to be people with leg ups in different ways or networks, but it's ultimately, if you come in and you can get aligned and you can, it's, anybody can do it technically, which is a really wonderful thing, because people deserve that chance to come in. And it's not all about making money. There's a huge layer that's about helping people. When you're aligned with that, when you know the type of person that you want to help, you're passionate about that. There's also, almost all of our agents that I can think of off the top of my head are aligned with specific things much bigger than them, like charities and things like that. And all of that plays into that why that helps you connect. You might feel so strongly about a specific charity because you have this background, right, that you were there once, or your mother or father were there, or whatever it might be, and that's going to help people connect with you. So this is something that is so important, and you can't fabricate it, but like if you can't connect with your network.
Or for some people, it's interesting. Obviously, a strong why for anyone is money. We all have bills to pay. We all need to make a living. We all plan for hopeful, nice vacations and education for our children. But I do want to point out that having the why be strictly financial is a trap. Yeah. And can be really sort of smelled, seen, felt by others. And it's okay to be in business to make money, obviously. We run a business to make money. But what is that money going towards?
Right.
Why is it important for us? What drives us to get up and do this work in order to make money? We have choices. We could do many other things instead.
Right.
Why this? Why real estate?
Right.
That's part of that conversation.
And like you said, what is your money for? Because that's going to help people connect with you. We have one agent that, I won't say who because I don't know if he would appreciate the share, but he picks a figure that's not crazy high, but definitely a good figure, and that's what he hits. And if he hits it in July, he's done. If he hits it in December, he'll keep going. But the whole thing is he wants to spend time with his family. He knows what he wants in his life. And that alone is just something that's going to make people connect with you, because they might connect on wanting those exact things. It's a really interesting way to live your life. Yeah. So I like that. And I think that's definitely makes sense to have that as that first piece. What's the next thing you've seen?
All right. The next thing is in a way related. I mean, all of these are somewhat interrelated, but having a growth mindset. So we've heard this a lot on the media, people talk about it, but I cannot underscore this enough. Again, this industry is challenging, and it's also forever changing. We're in the middle of a big shift right now. Everybody's talking about that, right? We have been through other shifts in the past, whether it's a financial impact, COVID, industry changes, new competitors coming in. There's always a change. Mm-hmm. There are always things that can cause people to give up, to stop, to be afraid, to not want to really face the challenge, Mm-hmm. But people with a growth mindset don't look at it that way. Mm-hmm. They lean into the challenge. They look for opportunity. They see that there's abundance around them because that's what they're focused on. They take the time to learn. They don't assume that just because they don't know how to do something that's self-limiting and they shouldn't bother doing it. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to do it. They're going to go and learn. They're going to study. So again, a very, very important thing to focus on, because without a growth mindset, people get stuck. Mm-hmm. And people come up with excuses as to why not to do things. Big difference between people who I've seen succeed and build incredible businesses, definitely growth mindset. They have a setback, they learn from it. Mm-hmm. They go on a listing appointment, they don't get it, they push harder for the next one. Mm-hmm. They're action oriented.
Right.
Huge differentiator.
And I think that is going to be even more important right now with the shifting market, because I think we were talking about this the other day, that now is almost the time, ironically, to get into real estate if we are. And we all know that this is cyclical, and this isn't some end of the world. This
One way or another, we have cycles.
Every 10 years, we have a cycle. And people tend to get into it when it's at the top. And so people have seen this really only high market, and now it drops off. What's ironic is it's kind of better to get in at that drop off and lean in, like you're saying, with the growth mindset, realize you're going to learn from what's happening, and it's going to be the people with the intestinal fortitude to keep going and have that mindset then.
Absolutely. This is the perfect opportunity. During times of, challenging market conditions, that's when the true professionals can shine.
Yeah.
That's where the people who are sort of riding the coattails of a busy market with little skills needed to succeed, they're going to start to fall off. They're going to be giving up because they probably don't have the mindset to withstand the challenges that we're dealing with now. It's time to go back to basics. It's time to understand how to really price and how to really negotiate and what it means to walk someone through an inspection renegotiation or, in some cases reprice because, we're seeing those changes. So for someone who's never seen that before, never worked in that kind of market, again, they can easily get paralyzed as opposed to saying, all right, I will learn, I will speak with my mentor or I will speak with one, of our leadership members or I will just learn how to handle this.
Yeah, and I think it's like being scarcity versus abundance is really what it is. And I think right now is, like I said, just it's the time because what people do is they think there's not going to be enough. I'm going to climb into my shell and I'm going to do things and make decisions that are going to negatively impact your career. That's like going to a discount brokerage. It's like, we don't have offices and you're going to do this. And like you're looking at all these little numbers and you're saying, well, I need a little bit more because I'm not going to get enough, instead of staying with people who are going to help you grow your business, right? That shrinking is where I think everything goes wrong. So it's really important to think that way right now. What's the next one?
So this is what I call get out of your jammies or put on a suit and a smile. I've used both examples over the years with my agents, and that basically just means work hard.
Yeah.
There is no overnight success. There is no magic bullet. People that come into this industry sometimes have a misconception. Maybe it's because of HGTV and Bravo and all the shows that have become so popular that, they assume that this is some sort of a fun, exciting, flashy business where they're going to wear beautiful clothes and drive fancy cars and show 3 houses and sell one of them and make a ton of money. Some of that is true. It is a wonderful business and you can wear fancy clothes and drive beautiful cars, but it's hard work that gets you there, right? It is years of learning the craft. It's no different than there are examples where, there's, let's say a new movie comes out with some formerly unknown actor and everybody's like, oh my God, what an overnight success.
Right. And
And they're forgetting that actor studied for years and worked in little roles that were unknown and improved their craft, so you need to work hard. You need to really apply yourself. You need to get out of your jammies in the morning, not sleep in if you don't have an appointment. Go to the office, learn, study, work.
And no one's making you. So I think that's why it's so important.
Exactly.
It's a different type of industry that way, where you're an independent contractor. You can stay in bed. But it's funny, because I really commend people when I start to see someone, whether they're newer or it's, a quiet time, and we have all these office meetings and things. And when I see one person that, like you said, like gets up, gets dressed, and they're at every single thing, it's like you appreciate that because
action builds action
from every you never know, but you're definitely not going to get the opportunity sitting at home. But it is an easy trap to fall into.
Very easy, and so that takes the self-discipline that people need to have in this business. You are your own CEO. You ask yourself this: if you were paying a salary to yourself, would you be okay with your employee sleeping in and just kind of hanging out, or would you be expecting them to get into the office and work?
Yeah, go find some
business. Do the activities. Do what it takes.
And that can kind of roll us into the next piece here, because I like that you wrote on purpose, and I'll let you walk us through it. But if and when you get out of your pajamas and you're out there, like now you need to have that purpose of like, what exactly are you doing?
Exactly. So, by getting out of your pajamas and getting out there, I don't just mean go get your Starbucks coffee and walk around and, maybe stop into a broker open if they have a nice lunch.
Yeah.
You can do that. There are good lunches, and it is important to know the inventory, so don't get me wrong. But really work on purpose. So there are 2 elements of running successful business. You are in the business, meaning you're doing the activities that are part of your daily actions, right? You're showing properties, you're doing open houses, you are preparing market analysis for people, that you're working in your business. But you have to work on your business too. meaning what your goals are, your plan, how you're going to get there, making your phone calls, sending out your postcards, writing your notes, all of that is working on your business. People who are not disciplined and don't have a plan and don't have a calendar set up to do that are the ones who quickly find themselves super, super busy for a few months with some listings and some buyers, and then everything dries up and they're terrified. Mm-hmm. Because again, it's a normal cycle. There's ups and downs. We're busier, then we're quieter. But if you're not working on your pipeline on a regular basis, then you will have those lulls that are longer and deeper. Mm-hmm. If you work on that pipeline, if you're what we call a ninja, for example, if you're in flow, you're constantly communicating with your sphere, then you minimize that downturn, that slow time.
It's funny, when you're talking, I was thinking, and I was thinking earlier too, like this, the winter time around right now is always a little bit slower. Mm-hmm. And it is a good time to take a breath too, don't get me wrong. And even that needs to be purposeful.
Exactly.
I heard somebody say that, just that she tells her team, like, if and when you can take a breath, take the breath, because if you sort of do, but you worry too much, like then when we need to get back, to up here, you're still tired and fatigued. But so you got to kind of balance that. But what I do like about what you're saying is it's almost like in the business should be, and this is just something that I'm hearing, is like when it is busy and you just have to keep going, that's in, and on is now. On is when you want to stay in your pajamas, go on vacation, and just totally.
That's very true.
So yes. On is the winter, on is a lull in the market, whatever that might be.
And
you need to be
but
purposeful.
On is also when you're busy.
Oh, yes.
On is also making sure that when you're busy, you might not have as much time, but that you carve out the time to make sure that you don't fall behind on those things.
Yep. Yeah.
And if you're that busy that you can't carve out any time, then maybe it's time for an assistant, or maybe it's time to build a team. And, all of that is part of coaching and part of business planning in itself.
Yeah. No, I love that. And so more diving deeper, it looks like your next piece is not only but...
Exactly. So part of Work Smart, the number 5 is really to focus on revenue generating activities. Mm-hmm. And by that, I'm going to sort of turn it into, for a second, what I've seen that doesn't work.
Okay.
The agents that fall into traps because they're not focusing on like actual revenue building activities. Mm-hmm. So they'll come into the office and they're really proud. They listen to Daphna. They got out of their jammies and they come into the office. But then they're sitting there having coffee and like going on Facebook and spending a lot of time just kind of chit-chatting and, deciding what, Christmas gifts they want to buy or whatever it is. Or they're the agent that will sign up for every class. Mm-hmm. Every designation. And don't get me wrong, a big part of what I think are important pieces, one of these items is education and growth and learning. But when someone becomes a perpetual student and they hide in the classroom, they're never going to go out there and sell real estate, right? So that's not a revenue generating activity. That's just learning and learning and learning and feeling as if I'm busy and I'm doing something. Mm-hmm. Then there's the agents that are running around, their hair is on fire, they're constantly busy, they don't know how they can possibly do anything else, but all they're doing is they're spinning their wheels.
Right.
They're so busy. Everything is dramatic. Everything is, everything is falling apart. Oh, this is awful. Oh my God, I have to answer this. Because nothing is organized, everything is chaos.
Yeah, it's all reactive.
And it's all reactive, and they're always running behind and cannot get a hold of anything. And so again, they're not focusing on the right things.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, it's like the hustle culture. People want to celebrate. I'm always so busy and post their like coffee and their 4 a.m. wake up. And
you feel so important if you're so busy. You must be an important person if you're busy.
You have to like take yourself back and say like, what are the results I'm getting from these busy days? I learned that quickly with becoming a new mom. It was like, I spent a lot of and I'm not saying that you're not, but I spent a lot of my 20s like spinning about how busy I was. And then all of a sudden my time truly was like, not mine. And when I had an hour, I really had to get things done. And I didn't have time to even think about making sure people thought I was busy. It was just like, I got to get my stuff done. Yeah. And it actually is a relief when you don't have to keep that like facade up. And I think it was an issue with our society.
I agree. And another part of it is multitasking. Multitasking became the thing that everybody should be able to do and is expected to do. Well, it's counterproductive.
Yeah.
Again, if you're not fully focused on something and you're always doing so many things at once and, just kind of juggling all these balls up in the air all the time, then nothing is getting really done well.
Right. And there's
but you're super busy.
Listening to this saying, oh, they don't get it. I am really busy. But I think the question you have to ask yourself is, how much of that is your identity? You have to answer that hard question, because there was a point in my life that I had to answer that. Like, it is. I'm trying to put that out there. I am still very busy. I'm still doing a lot.
But your hair's not on fire. You're in control.
Right. You just want to get in control of that. Something that helped me, if someone is listening to this and they're like, oh, maybe I do. And I'm still working on this. The timer. I got like this little timer, and I would just tell myself, because I'm very, I would say, like, undiagnosed ADD, and the multitasking, again, all that societal, like,
me too.
It was like I fell right into it, and oh my gosh, I'm doing a million things at once, and I just try to make myself focus on something for 5 minutes. Also, like, small tasks that seem like you avoid them because, well, I can't possibly get that done. I would often put a timer on to do them and show myself, like, that was 10 minutes and you put it off for 3 days.
Exactly.
So if you are getting caught in that trap, you're listening to this, that is the easiest little thing to do. Just try to, like, take a step back, figure out, like you're saying, what are the most important things you need to get done. Put that timer on and say, I'm going to work on
and do it first thing in the morning. Eat
minutes.
That frog, right? Do it. If you don't feel like doing it, you don't want to make that phone call, you don't want to have to, do something that's uncomfortable. Do it first thing in the morning, and that's such a motivator for the rest of the day.
Yeah, and I think you're just making my wheels turn a little bit, and I'm kind of going off. But I think the other thing is realizing when you said eat the frog, how different things make you feel. Because you might think, like we were talking about at the beginning, that you have to be, like, really extroverted, and so those things can be a little painful for you. Like, I think finding a groove, and we're all doing this every day, but, like, I'm always trying to figure out, like, what are the things I really don't like doing? Well, I don't even know sometimes, because I'm just avoiding them subconsciously.
Exactly.
Doing those things in the morning, then there might be things that you're like, that actually gives me energy. Maybe I will save that for the afternoon. I like doing that.
Exactly.
Or the last piece is, like, I've liked is, like, habit stacking. There might be something that you can do. It's like, I don't really want to make that phone call, but you know what? I'm driving 30 minutes to an appointment this afternoon. I'll put it then. And it's almost like, it's just stack it with something else.
Yep.
There's just ways. And I think if we take a step back from our own day, we figure out, what am I avoiding? What am I not liking? And then are there things that you're avoiding, you're not liking, and it's not making you money? Because those we need to get rid of altogether.
It's a great way to see how you're spending your money. And there's another thing that I want to say for some people, interesting new sort of societal expectations that I think we all face. Because of the way we live now, because of the speed in which everything happens, it's almost like we have to have gamification in our lives. Mm-hmm. So even if you create a game out of it, this goal and reward type of thing.
Yeah. So
gamify it for you. If you know that there are actions or activities that you don't like doing, but you're forced and you have to do, then give yourself points. And after you reach a certain amount of points because you made a certain amount of phone calls, or you sat down and you take care of your finances, or you did your business plan, whatever it is you were putting off, each action that you do, give yourself a point, and then you have a prize at the end.
Right.
For some people, they literally need to do that because it creates a system for them to be able to motivate themselves.
Yeah, and starting small.
Yeah.
I'm the king of, like, I'm going to start fresh tomorrow. I'm going to get 20 new habits.
I know.
Like one, just one, and get your points. And I'm good with that. I like that. That's awesome.
The number 6, master and focus on the basics. No time like the present to make sure that we all do that. We've been hearing it all the time in the shifting market, go back to the basics. Now, what I want to point out is when we say the basics, people assume our minds immediately go to making cold calls. Like there's this feeling that, basic, oh gosh, no, I am not making cold calls.
Right.
That is not what I'm talking about. The basics are the skills that we mentioned before. Phone calls are part of it, but I don't really believe in cold calls. Call your sphere, call the people that you have relationships with, call your clients, check in with them, see if they have any questions, tell them what's new in your life. All of that is part of basics. But basics is also get a business plan going, or meet with your coach, or has it been a while since you really understood exactly what the inventory is like? Get out there and see it. Mm-hmm. Do you really know how to pull statistics from MLS? You'd better know how to do that.
Right.
There's so many ways to look at the basic skills that one needs and one needs to keep sharp.
Yeah.
So that's the other trap is For some agents who are have been in the business a long time, they feel like, oh, but I know the basics. I've been there. The basics are for newbies. No, the basics are foundations that everybody needs to use and focus on all the time. Just like athletes, just like musicians, musicians are doing scales and athletes are running, or, that's the basic. Right. Everybody knows how to run. Right. They already won a medal. Why are they still running? Right. Well, that's part of the basic thing that they do.
Yeah, and boiling your basics down, like, they feel good when you realize, like, these are the few things I really need to sharpen. I think sometimes it might overwhelm people.
That's right.
Especially coming off of such a hot market. Like, right now, we didn't really have to flex those muscles.
Exactly.
So just kind of figuring that out, and like what we said before, maybe you pick 5 things. You're like, I really should make sure that I'm... Tools. There's basic tools that people haven't been using.
That's right.
Just little things that, you might not even realize. Like, we were talking about, like, 2-1 buy downs and things that, like, someone's like, well, I mean, I know what that is, but then it's like, but have you used it in, 10 or 15 years? Maybe not. It's probably good to sit in on a little session.
Exactly.
So just some of that.
Even if you're not going to be the expert, you need to have an understanding of it. You need to know who the experts are so that you can advise your clients.
Right.
So you're touching on exactly the right examples.
Yeah. All right, awesome. We're on number 7.
Number 7 is communicate. I love this because, it's such a part of our lives now, communication. It's always been part of our industry, right? When I started, the way we would communicate with our clients or our sphere would be with, like, little recipe cards. We'd send out little recipe postcards, or I would host an open house. This is really gonna, age me, sorry, but I would host an open house and buyers would come in and I'd be like, oh, do you have an email address? I can send you, new listings every day. And they'd be like, oh, wow, really? Or no, I don't have an email address yet. That has changed.
Right.
We are in an information overload kind of society, needless to say. So we need to be able to communicate regularly, and communicate well.
Yes.
And we need to be able to differentiate ourselves when we do that. So communication is face-to-face, verbal. Communication is on social media. Communication is in the emails. Communication is text messaging. An agent needs to do this well and be consistent in what their messaging is, what their style is. There's a saying, real estate is a contact sport. If you are not communicating clearly, constantly, then you become a secret agent.
Right.
So you need to communicate. Now, what do you communicate with? I believe that with the shifts in the industry and, again, HGTV and social media, agents are almost expected to be providing edutainment. On social media, people want to hear specifics about what is happening with the market. Everyone is interested in real estate. Everyone wants to see real estate. So it's important to give that kind of market information, updated, local, hyper-local information, but also to make it fun, make it interesting, make it visually impactful, make it about who you are, share who you are, as we were saying, the why, let that come through, the brand, right? So communicate. We are literally in an attention economy, right? We are fighting for people's attention all the time. Again, Lee Brown, that I mentioned before, I think is the one. I follow her obviously on social media, and she says that everybody has scoliosis. So if everybody is doing this, we don't have a lot of time to catch their attention.
Right.
So again, how and when and the format in which agents communicate is very important.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And it's funny, like, the attention thing is so true. I think of, there's a lot of things I joke about, like turn your clocks back and stuff, that I don't necessarily think I would send, because we all have iPhones and they're doing that. And I think that it's almost like, I think of it as if you're listening to a panel and there's 5 people and one person just kind of keeps saying something that you don't really care about. You're going to find yourself the next time they speak, even if you're sitting in the audience, looking at your phone, because you've now associated that person with saying something that it's not really impacting you. And that's the difference. So I think there's things that we can do to just keep our sphere warm. I always use 80-20. I just feel like it applies to everything. I think 80% of what you say needs to be of value.
Yes.
And I'm not saying you should send anything out that's not of value, but the 20% can be some
fluff.
of those fluff
Fun.
pieces.
Exactly.
Just to say, hey, I'm out in front of you. Don't forget about me. But you can't have 80% of it be that just kind of canned stuff because people are going to tune you out. They just don't have the brain power.
Exactly. There's too much going on.
Right.
So much information and entertainment overload.
Yeah, constantly.
Yeah.
And you do have to make, I always find that like, if anything holds me back from posting, I have this new value sort of filter that I try to put on. Like if I'm not offering someone value, I don't really want to put it out. Yeah. Right? And there's different ways of you're offering someone value that someone might see something that someone else really finds valuable that they don't. And not everyone's
when you post a video or a picture of Lindsay, I find it very valuable. Yeah. It makes me happy.
Well, there's a kind of connection.
Exactly. Right? So that's valuable and personal, you know, and then you put on these videos and I find these very valuable, you know, so there is a nice balance.
Yeah, no, I do. I think that there's a good balance. All right, what's the next one?
All right, grit.
Walk me through that one.
Walk you through it. Boy, I could give you so many examples out of my own life. You know, life is tough and business is tough. And for anyone to be able to succeed, they need to have grit, meaning the power to overcome, the belief in themselves that, you know, it's okay. Dust yourself up, get up, do it again. You know, there are always going to be setbacks. There's always going to be a challenge. Eye on the prize. Yeah. That's grit.
We were talking to someone who will be joining us, and I can't talk about them yet, but they've become some of my favorite people, but they reference the race to the bottom constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the opposite of grit.
That's
I think if you
right.
can hold your line, you have your grit, you know where you're headed and you want to get there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just sort of get caught in that race to the bottom where you say, I'm going to take the easy road, and everyone sort of goes down from there.
Exactly.
It's easier said than done.
Much easier said than done. And you know, if you find yourself struggling to find that grit within you, then, you know, talk to a friend, take a vacation, get out in nature, like get in touch with what it is you need to fuel that back up. Because again, we always, you know, we're human. We all have setbacks. We all have challenging times. COVID was certainly a time where we all had to lean into our grit, right? And learn to overcome and make the best of a very difficult situation.
And it's not pretty. I mean, I'm literally just thinking as you're talking, but it's like a lot of things, like you read books and things about people that talk about that they leaned into this hard time. And of course, it's like in hindsight, when they're now this hugely successful person, this is some like fun story. And you think like, when that comes, like, that's going to be right. I'm going to be that person that it's like, no, when you're in that moment, you don't want to share. You just want to hide. And no matter what it is, it also looks so different. I think people think that I'm going to need grit when, you know, I need to get more business, or there's like a lull in the market. Well, there's also going to be times that you have family issues or things that you just didn't expect. And I think the grit piece is like, I think most of the time when you need to dig that little bit deep and find your grit, what helps me is like it always is temporary. Right? Most of that stuff is... And
it's so important to remind yourself of that while you're going through it, you know.
Because it's usually a very silent time.
It is.
Something that it is, and I think that's a misconception, because we read about these times that people bear down and then they are so successful and they're very vocal about it. Well, that's after.
Exactly.
They weren't screaming about it
during. They probably wondered if they are going to get through.
Yeah.
You know, there were days that they didn't know that they could actually overcome whatever challenge they were going through. And you're right. By grit, needing to have grit, and in fact, all of these really don't only apply to business, they're part of life. Right? So like you said, a setback is not necessarily only in business. We may be dealing with something in our lives that, if we don't have enough grit, is going to impact our business because it's taking our focus and can bring us down.
So lean into it if you're in one of those silent suffering moments right now, because it's
absolutely.
Come out strong.
And then number 9 fits right into it. Part of being able to have grit is having gratitude and joy. You know, again, in Ninja, we talk about the fact that everything that you focus on actually grows. So if we focus on negativity and scarcity and challenge and bad news and, you know, interest rates going up and, oh no, what's going to happen? My business is slow. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. At some point, it's impossible to overcome because you're literally living in that world. Your mind is stuck in a dark place. So it is so important to be able to find gratitude for the abundance that we all have in our lives. You know, everybody, even the agents that maybe are brand new and still struggling to understand how to build a business, they have abundance in their lives.
Right.
You know, they have people that will help them. They have the opportunity in a wonderful industry. So we all have things that we can be grateful for and that bring joy to us, and it is so important to remind ourselves of that all the time so that we can remain joyful. Because I also say this, you know, nobody wants to work with a person who is miserable, unhappy, grumpy. Nobody wants to be around that, right?
No.
So, but if you're positive, if you're happy, and it doesn't mean, you know, fake, crazy rainbows and unicorns all the time. Realistic, but happy, you know.
They're just going to subconsciously avoid you.
Absolutely.
If you have bad energy, people might not even realize it. They might love you, but they're going to, and you don't want that in this business. You don't want people being like, why don't I want to be around that person? One thing I want to add to that you were making me think of is the saying comparison is the thief of joy. And I think that's a really important piece here. Again, this ties back to everything, whether you're in a hard time and you're comparing to other people, or social media makes it so hard now, you're constantly looking. Just remember, it's a highlight reel. I know we say that all the time, but it's like looking at people in your industry, don't do it. That's like a huge thing. Like if you're going to have this abundance mindset and you're going to have gratitude every day and you're going to find joy, you can't go online, like you said, scoliosis, but just compare yourself all day to other people in the industry. If you're following people in the industry, pay attention to how it makes you feel. If there's people that are really smart, especially in another market, that like maybe they have great ideas and you maybe want to borrow some of those or work with them, or you know what I mean? It's something that makes you feel happy, keep them on that list. If you're following someone that's in your local market, they just drive you crazy, you don't like anything that they say, unfollow them, and that's not helping you either. I would say follow people in other industries that have a similar style to you and make you interested in what they're doing. They might be something to do with nutrition. It might be something that you're interested in, but you're going to be like, that kind of hooked me in because I liked this, or I like seeing pictures of their dog. It's going to make you be like, then that's the kind of audience that I want.
Exactly.
But if you want to have this, like, live in this place of gratitude, it's so hard to then spend all day comparing yourself to other people. So, like, I think that's a good tip to just...
Oh my God, I'm so glad that you said that. That is
through
so
your
true.
homepage after you listen to this and find whatever's bringing you a little bit down, even if you just feel this little ping of like, that annoys me, unfollow them. It's not an insult. It's just, they might be a great person. It's just that's not healthy for you in that moment. Just keep comparing yourself to everyone else's numbers.
It's just not what is feeding you in a positive way. Mm-hmm. But I'm so glad that you said that, because again, to sort of highlight the what not to do aspect of being an agent, I can't tell you how many times I've heard this narrative from agents. And it goes something like this. Oh, I can't believe Sally agent is doing so well. It must be because she's being fed leads. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's because the manager likes her more. Oh, it's because she, is married to a builder. Oh, it's because every excuse in the book, other than saying she works hard. Mm-hmm. She has built her business. She's doing things right. She's getting out of her jammies. Right. She's got grit. She's, thinking about gratitude and abundance.
Right. Yeah. 90% of the time. And then if she's not, if some of those things that you said are true, if you have an abundant mindset, you realize that has no impact on you. You're wasting all of your energy. Her husband might be a builder.
Exactly.
She might have a crazy network from some cousin, and that might come easier.
How is that going to affect you or not affect you?
And that's hard. I mean, we all find ourselves in those moments when we're like, it must be nice. I try to catch myself. Anytime you're thinking must be nice, you need to do something. You need to take a walk. You need to snap yourself out of that, because you're looking at other people that have no impact on you.
Exactly.
And you're not in a good mindset. And you can't, like you said, when you're your own boss, when you're your own, like, this is where in this business you have to consistently correct your
And it's so easy to fall into
headspace.
that trap. Look, I was a new licensee. Right. I sat, doing floor time and listening and watching and trying to learn and understand what is it that these top producers are doing. Yeah. Like, why did they manage to succeed so much? I probably also at times, normal, right? I'm human, I was jealous. I thought, oh, it's because so-and-so and that and whatever excuses. And I would catch myself and say, okay, what can I emulate?
Yeah.
What is she doing right?
They got easy, and then there's stuff that they did
but
right.
they're still doing.
So
they're doing some things right, and not all of them got it easy.
Yeah,
you
right,
know, that's such
right.
an assumption.
Yes. Yeah.
So study what is it they're doing right. Ask them. Many agents are more than happy to share. Right. Ask if they can mentor you. Ask if you can shadow them. Tell them that you're so impressed. Right. Rather than I'm so jealous.
Right.
I'm impressed.
Right.
So I'm so glad you mentioned that. Very true.
All right, the last piece.
Ding, 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 ding. Very important. Consistency.
Yeah.
You know, everyone can do something well once. Some can do something phenomenally well once. The trick is doing it all the time.
Right.
Even if it's not done, as we said before, to 100% perfection.
Sure.
But doing it all the time. Again, I can use so many analogies, right? A diet, working out, it's the beginning of the new year. How many people do we know that probably have a resolution to get in better shape and to lose some weight?
Right.
They go to the gym, they buy that membership, they go once or twice, they go to the grocery store, they bought a salad.
Right.
And 3 weeks later, if that, right? Nothing. They stop. Good intentions. They started off well, but they lost the consistency. Nothing will work unless it's consistent.
So that applies to everything
all of
we
it.
Talked about. Yep. I love it.
All of it.
Well, this was awesome, and I'm so glad that we had this mini conversation before we did this. That I know you've just been doing so much one-on-one with all of our agents, and there's got to be stuff that you're pulling. So this is really helpful, and I think for any of our agents that are listening, I think this is a great place to start. But then I can't recommend enough to get in touch with Daphna and be able to do that, sit down and do that business plan for 2023. It's not too late.
Absolutely.
You're still be doing
it's never
some
too
sessions.
late.
Yeah.
Business planning should be happening all year long. Just because you set your plan in the beginning. In fact, it should be at least once a quarter. Because you set your plan, but if you're not checking in to see where you are against that plan and make any necessary adjustments, then again, lost opportunity. So anytime, call me, text me, see me, happy to meet.
Awesome.